What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. The Northwestern Wildcats are up next. Northwestern actually was a very big surprise last year in 2023, winning 8 games. Remember, a couple years ago, Northwestern just won 1 game in 2022. Last year, they go from winning 1 game to winning 8 games from last year in 2023. So yeah, this was a very big surprise team from last year. I thought the interim head coach did a pretty good job. My thoughts on this team for 2024. I think Northwestern, they're not definitely up there with the top teams in the Big Ten and everything, but this team has a chance to probably make it to a bowl game at least. They do have a pretty tough schedule this year, but offensively they got plenty of playmakers on that side of the football, so the offense could be pretty solid for them. Definitely not one of the top, offenses in the country, but you look at the defense, I think they're going to be really good on that side of the football. They do have a lot of production coming back on that defense, so I think Northwestern's going to have a pretty good defense this year. I think that's definitely going to be the strength of this team. So let's now get to the schedule here for 2024. This is the schedule here for Northwestern, and again, they were 8-5 last year in 2023. So let's go game by game now and give you a record prediction here for Northwestern for 2024. They start things off, of course, with Miami of Ohio University Redhawks here on August 31st. I don't really think this is going to be a game that's going to be really a blowout. The Redhawks were really good last year as a team. They won like 11 games last season, so I don't really expect a blowout here in this one, but I think Northwestern still takes care of business either way. This is a game they can probably win just by a couple touchdowns, maybe 14 to 17 points in that range, just like I said a couple days ago with Syracuse and everything. So I think Northwestern gets a pretty easy win here. They start off 1-0 here on the season, and then after that, they'll play Duke here at home here on September 7th. Of course, a revenge game here for the Wildcats. Duke was actually really good last year, but first-year head coach for them, Mike Elko, of course, taking a new job over at Texas A&M. Obviously, that's a really huge blow here for this Duke football program, but maybe they're not terrible. Maybe this will be a very competitive game, but, Northwestern, I think, will be fired up in this one. They're definitely, out for revenge here in this game as well, so I think Northwestern gets the win here. I think they finally get a win over the Blue Devils after, 2 straight losses in a row here in the last couple seasons as well. So I think Northwestern starts off 2-0, and then after that, they'll take care of business against Eastern Illinois here on September 14th. So I got them starting out 3-0. Going into conference play, they'll play Washington here on the road on September 21st. Very interesting matchup here. Washington, of course, not going to be the same team as they were from last year. Obviously, first-year head coach for them. I think Northwestern might be the better team here in this one, but I've already done my prediction for this game a long time ago, and I did say that Washington will win this one. I think it's still a pretty fair matchup here. So with that being said, I think the Huskies playing at home, and also that's a very tough place to play on the road here at Washington, and also having to go out west for this game as well, which is going to be very tough. So I'm going to go with Washington here. I think they get the win here and give Northwestern their first loss of the season. So that puts the Wildcats now here at 3-1. Going into the month of October, they get a bye week in the last weekend here in the month of September. They'll play Indiana coming out of the bye week here at home on October 5th. I think this is a pretty good spot for a bye week. You're taking on the Indiana team that I think will be really good this year. I think both of these teams are pretty even. Obviously, Indiana's going to have some playmakers coming in from over the transfer portal and everything, so I think this is a pretty even matchup. I like Northwestern here in this one. I think they get a bounce-back win after the loss to Washington a couple weeks ago, and also plus that bye week does help them out. I think they come out really fired up in this one. So I think Northwestern gets a bounce-back win here over Indiana here on October 5th. So that puts them now here at 4-1 here on the season, and also that's their first win here in the Big Ten on the season. And then after that, they'll play Maryland here on the road on October 12th. This is a pretty even matchup. I've already done my Maryland prediction video from yesterday. I did choose the Terrapins to win this one. I think Northwestern's going to keep Maryland from, scoring a lot of points in this one. And I think the Wildcats are going to try to run the football in this one, but it won't be enough. I think it's a very tough game here on the road to call. And again, this is a very good back and forth type game here as well. So I'm going to go with Maryland here to knock off Northwestern. Again, I think that's a game that probably could be going either way. I think the defense, though, like I said, for Northwestern, can keep this game really low scoring. But I'm going to go with the Terrapins here. I think they give give Northwestern their second loss here of the season, so that puts their record now here at 4-2. Next, they'll play Wisconsin here at home on October 19th. Wisconsin is a team that I think a little bit, is going to be really good this year. They do have a lot of talent on the roster. They do have a good amount of production coming back, but they do have a really tough schedule. This will be a home game here for Northwestern. Last week, they're taking on Maryland here in this one. Let's say that Wisconsin's probably ranked in the top 15 by this point. Northwestern probably comes out really fired up, and they overlooked Maryland from last week, and they definitely look ahead to the next week. I think that's really going to help them out. I think they'll be able to run the football in this game. It will be a low-scoring type game. I think both defenses are pretty even. End of the day, though, home field advantage will be the difference. I think both of these teams are pretty even. Wisconsin might be the more talented team. I'm going to go with Northwestern here actually to pull off the upset. So I think Northwestern gets the win there right here on October 19th against the Badgers. So that puts them now here at 5-2 on the season. And this is where the schedule gets really tough. From this stretch all the way from October 26th all the way to November 23rd. You got Iowa here on the road next on October 26th. Very tough place to play. I think this is going to be a really, really low-scoring type game. I think both defenses are pretty even. Offensively, the advantage probably goes to Iowa here in this one. But I can definitely see this game probably just being like a 6-3 type ball game and also maybe like a 9-6 type ball game as well. Again, you never know. Iowa might be a little bit better on offense, but I think it's still a concern if you're an Iowa fan and also if I'm not an Iowa fan as well. So with that being said, low scoring game. I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes here just because of home field advantage. And again, I think that's the reason why they'll win this game. So I think Iowa gets the win here. They're definitely the more talented team as well. And I think they give Northwestern their third loss of the season. After that, they'll play Purdue here on the road on November 2nd. This is kind of like a trap game here for the Wildcats. Purdue is a team that I'm not really that high on this year, but you never know. Purdue could be better by this time as they get into the month of November with their second-year head coach and everything. The Boilermakers might be a more competitive team this year as well. This is a very tough one to call. I kind of been back and forth on this game. It's kind of one of those upset alert type games as well, even though Northwestern might not be like ranked in the top 25, but they're definitely the better team going into this matchup. But I'm going to actually go with Purdue here. I think Purdue gets like a big win here on the season, and that comes against Northwestern. And again, I'm not really that high on Purdue this year, but you never know. Purdue could be better by the time they get into the month of November and everything. So I'm going to actually go with the Boilermakers there. So I got them giving Northwestern their fourth loss here of the season. And then they get their second bye week here before playing a big game at home against Ohio State on November 16th. This is a really, really good spot for a bye week if you're a Northwestern fan, but I just think that Ohio State's going to be really good this year. I think they're going to be really too dangerous here for Northwestern to keep up in this one. They get a bye week before they play this game, so maybe they overlook Purdue from last week, and they definitely are focusing on the Ohio State game in a couple more weeks. And I think they really come out fired up in this one. I think the first half could be probably close, but it won't be enough. The Buckeyes do pull away in the second half, and they get the win here. I know a couple years ago, Northwestern was very close to pulling off the upset, but Ohio State, in that really bad weather and everything, they just really couldn't move the football that well. So I think the Buckeyes, still the very talented team here. They get the win here, and they give Northwestern their fifth loss here of the season. And then after that, it gets a lot tougher here for the Wildcats. They play Michigan here on the road on November 23rd. Very tough place to play. I think Michigan will be definitely better by this time with their new head coach and everything. I think Michigan's still going to be a very talented team, even though they're going to lose their head coach from last year and definitely a lot of roster turnover. But I think Michigan's going to be really better by this time. They're going to definitely be running the football a lot more as they get into the month of November. So that being said, I think Northwestern loses. I don't really see this game being all that close, to be honest. I think Michigan gets the win here fairly easily. So I got Northwestern losing their sixth game here of the season. So that's 4 losses in a row from that stretch from October 26th all the way to November 23rd. And then the final game of the season will be at home against Illinois here on November 30th. I think Northwestern's desperate for a win at this point. They've lost 4 games in a row, and they're kind of, desperate for a win to get to a bowl game at least to go 6-6. And I think that's what happens here. I think Illinois is not going to be really good this year, and plus this is a home game here for Northwestern. I'm going to go with the Wildcats here to beat Illinois here in the final game of the regular season. So I got Northwestern getting to a bowl game at 6-6 here for 2024. I think this is a pretty fair prediction. This is a really tough schedule here for the Wildcats. Again, you got some tough road games. You got Washington on the road, Maryland on the road. You got Michigan on the road, but you at least get Ohio State at home. Maybe they have a really big chance to pull off the upset, but I don't really see that happening. I know upsets happen a lot in the college football season and everything, but Ohio State, with all those transfers coming in and also a lot of talent on the roster, I don't think it will be enough for Northwestern to pull off the upset. But so a 6-6 record here, not a big improvement from last year, but it's still enough to make it to a bowl game here for 2024. I think that Washington and Maryland games are both very winnable games. If they could probably win both of those games, they could probably go 8-4 and also beat Purdue. This team could probably go 9-3, but I'm going to go with 6-6 here for 2024 for the Wildcats. We'll see how their second year goes with their new head coach and everything. So that is my prediction here for Northwestern for 2024. Let me guys know what you think about this Northwestern team down in the comments below. What do you think their record will be for 2024? Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.